know what I find interesting is all of this talk about open borders to this country. So many so-called Americans want open borders so that people of Mexico and other nations can just freely enter this country without any type of vetting, without checking in, especially in the black community. I see so many black people on social media that speaking out against border walls, and they feel open borders are the right thing to do. But let's take a look at open borders. If you look at America, and let's just look at the so-called black community. For example, LA, Los Angeles, California. California is California, LA is LA. But they have a West Side and they have an East Side. You have the Bloods that may occupy one side, and you have the Crips that may occupy another side, and then you may have another type of gang occupying a certain area. But it's all LA. So they have open borders even in their communities, so-called black people, so-called Mexican gangs, the so-called Hispanics. They have open borders even in their hood. And look at the number of people that die being caught on the side that they really don't belong. So if you have someone from the East Side, although they're all a part of LA, they all a part of California, but you have someone from the East Side end up on the West Side to visit a family member or a friend, or even to work. They have to walk through certain neighborhoods that's occupied or controlled by a certain gang. And the gang will throw its sign or tell you to represent or expect you to represent. And if you don't represent, or if you're wearing the wrong colors, you can lose your life. So maybe LA, in places like LA, Chicago, Illinois, even locally here in Syracuse, maybe they need border walls to keep people from losing their lives. So that's the way it is with open borders here in America. If they keep those borders open, you'll get people in here. Of course, you're going to have people that's looking for a better life, but come in the right way. You take someone from New York that's visiting LA, and they end up in a certain community. Being from New York City, they have to check in. They have to check in. So even when it comes to street gang violence or street gangs or the West Side, East Side, or certain areas or territories, they still have a certain unwritten law, or maybe it's a written law. They still have to check in. You just can't come from New York City and say, I'm visiting my family in Compton, or I'm visiting my family in Inglewood. When you go there, you have to check in. In some cases, there are people that you have to see. The minute you arrive there, the minute you get there, a phone call has to be made. Like, look, I'm here, man. And then they'll put the word out. But you first have to check in. So that's the way it is when it comes to borders here in America. in order for them of other countries to come to this country, they have to first check in. But they don't want to check in. They want to come in illegally and expect you to support them. So we can't talk about, especially in the so-called black community, we can't sit here and criticize Trump or the Trump administration or the conservatives for wanting open borders or for wanting border walls. They put those border walls up so that in order for you to come in, you come in righteously. You have to first check in. So just like the streets have their rules. See, I have family in San Diego. I have family in Cali. So I'm sure I don't feel I have to check in because I'm not in those communities. I'm not visiting those communities. I remember one time I was in Chicago, man. I got family in Chicago. And when I first got to Chicago, I was met with some vice lords, or better yet, some gangster disciples. And they threw up their gang sign and said, "Represent." I'm like, "What you talking about, man?" And they knew I wasn't from there just because of how I was dressed. Back in that time in New York City, we had the belt buckles, we had the shoelaces tied a certain way. You know, so they looked me up and down and they knew I wasn't from there. Their homeboys were standing off in the distance looking at me, checking me out. One dude came over, "Represent." "What you talking about, man? Where you from?" "I'm from New York." And then that's when their boys started walking towards me. And the dude I was with, Francione, right, because he's like a black dude, man. He hung out with black people. He got what you call black family. He's like, "Yo, come on, Cash, let's go." That was my street name, Cash, you know, Cashin, right? "Come on, Cash, let's go." Right? So we left. See, Francione knew what time it was because he's from Chicago. He lives in Chicago. As a matter of fact, Francione was the one that took me down to Cabrini Green. And we hung out in Cabrini Green. And those of you that's familiar with Chicago, especially back in the day, you're familiar with Cabrini Green and how things are in Cabrini Green. So you have to know someone. And if you know that person, you have to check in some cases, man. So you have illegal immigrants that have to check in before they can just cross over in the border. It's like when I was in the military, we crossed over into Czechoslovakia by mistake because you have Germany and Czechoslovakia at that time. I don't know about now, but it was separated by a border stone. And the border stone was like a little square stone that was in the ground. And if grass is covering it, you can't see that border stone. And if you don't know, there's people I'm sure that crossed over into Czechoslovakia without even realizing they were over there. So, and we crossed over with military equipment, tanks and everything by accident. And when we realized we crossed over into Czechoslovakia by mistake, we had to get back over the border quickly because what more than likely would have happened was we probably would have been captured, right? And they would had to contact the embassy or do whatever, and you know they had to come and get us, right? Because we had no, because they want to know, why are you over here? Why are you over in Czechoslovakia with military equipment and we don't know anything about it? Y'all can be spies. This is how they may look at it. You could be spies. This could be an invasion for all we know, because you guys got military equipment. So they had to capture us, but there's no border wall there. It was just separated with a stone. But if we got caught, there was consequences that we possibly could have had to pay as a result of that. So you need a border wall. It's like your home. You're not going to have just a door wide open where anybody can just come in and take what they want, or just eat your food, or shower, use your shower and your heat, right? So you got walls, you got doors to keep them out. So black people really can't talk about a border wall and criticize having a border wall when you guys are not even managing your invisible walls. North side, east side, west side, southwest side, where there's people that can't even, they live in the same area like my store. I had people come in my store that lived on the east side. And I'll never forget, this female ran in there. She wanted some of the hood books. They call them hood books, right? True to the Game, all of those books, man. Triple Crown books. So she ran in there and was like, and I'm looking at her like, what's the matter with you? She said, oh, I got to get in and get out because I'm not supposed to be over here, right? Because see, she crossed over that invisible borderline. She lived on the east side and they were beefing. For whatever reason, they were beefing. But she wanted something in my store, so she ran in and she's like, I can't be over here. I got to get out of here quick. So she went over there and got her books real quick, ran up to the register, paid for them, and she literally ran out the store, jumped inside a car, and took off like a bat out of hell. That's not a way to live. See? So, and that's in the hood. These are the same black people that's speaking against a border wall. When you guys got invisible border walls and you're killing each other every single day because somebody crossed into your hood without checking in, or because they wearing the wrong colors, or they weren't able to be able to talk to you when you threw a sign at them. They couldn't relate to you. They couldn't talk back. So then now they become a victim. But see, you're talking about what's happening in these camps over there, those holding camps, when they really don't belong here in the first place. See, so y'all got to get off that kick, man, about, talking about somebody's being a racist because you want border walls to keep illegal immigrants from coming over into this country, and now they living better than y'all. I was told that they're passing a bill or a law in California where illegal immigrants, get unlimited health care, but yet the citizens of America are forced to pay for theirs. And if they don't pay for their health care, they get penalized. But their tax dollars are paying for these illegal immigrants that's coming over here, right? So feedback, tell me what you think, but we got to come off that kick, man, and stop. Because how can you judge, the Trump administration or conservatives or people that want border walls when you guys are dying? You got open borders right in your own hoods. West side, east side, south side, north side, southwest side. And everybody's got a gang. So if you caught in that gang without checking in, then you can get wasted. Innocent people have died in the black community because they wore the wrong color or because they didn't represent. So feedback, tell me what you think. Till next time, I'm fearless.